What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're taking another look at Metroid Prime 4 and what online multiplayer could look like. So in one of my recent live streams, we go over Q&A and people ask questions about various different things, and Metroid Prime 4 has been one of those hot topic games. When is it going to come out? How is it going to look? How is Retro Studios going to get this game going? Just all sorts of stuff. Like, how long do you think it's going to take after when they re-announce that? I mean, there's just been a variety of ways of the same questions asked over and over, but that's okay. Discussion around games is always good, and Metroid is one of those franchises that needs all of the publicity that it can get, especially heading into this next Metroid Prime game. So in one of the recent live streams, we talked about how online multiplayer could work, or even if there would be online multiplayer at all. And it's extremely interesting because Retro Studios has moved into a bigger facility, has hired people that have worked on big multiplayer games, and has also looked into their own online multiplayer or just multiplayer in general in the past. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that if there isn't any online multiplayer in Metroid Prime 4, I would understand, considering they took development and they scrapped everything. I personally feel that Metroid Prime 4 definitely had online multiplayer when it was with Bandai Namco and some of the development teams that they were working with then and there. Now, if they decided to forego it in Metroid Prime 4 with Retro Studios to really make an impactful and good single player, I wouldn't be too upset. But in this video, we're going to talk about what they could do with online multiplayer in order to make it good. But first, we have to go back and look at what they've done before in Metroid Prime games. So there are a number of Metroid titles that have online multiplayer. The best would probably be Metroid Prime Hunters, but Metroid Prime Federation Force, that has online co-op with up to 4 players, and then also Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. But that one didn't have online multiplayer, so that was local multiplayer, but it was the first time for the Metroid franchise ever to where you can play up to 4 players on the same TV with multiplayer shooting, and they all did something unique and interesting to add to the table. Now, if you talk to anybody who's played the multiplayers in Metroid games, I've played every single one of them, I would say what stands out the most is Metroid Prime Hunters. That was kind of like the de facto Nintendo first party online game for the Nintendo DS, outside of course, Mario Kart DS. That was a big one for them. There was the Pokemon games. There were actually a lot of games that broke ground for Nintendo when it comes to online on the DS and not on the Wii or not on, a system before then. It was the DS that actually kind of moved things forward. Some of the stuff that they still don't even do at this point today, but Metroid Prime Hunters was one of those games that really kind of took what you thought maybe a Metroid Prime Online could be and what they were going to do going forward in the future. Now, unfortunately for Metroid Prime Hunters, the game didn't sell as well as previous Metroid Prime games or future Metroid Prime games, from what I understand. I mean, it wasn't something like to where it flopped, but it's not like they had a, oh my gosh, home run with the game. The single player was a little bit different than what you would expect to from a Metroid game, but at the same time, it was still a good package overall with free online multiplayer, great controls, and also online voice chat too, and clans and all sorts of stuff. Now, moving forward to what they can do with Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch, if there was multiplayer, this is hypothetically speaking, if there was, what I would like to see is not for them to go with a crazy player count. Metroid Prime Hunters was good because they kept it fairly solid and reasonable with its player counts, so you can get in and out of matches and the matches can run good enough. So another example of this is how Splatoon is. It's a 4-on-4, although people have been wanting more characters or more players to be there, but it's 4-on-4, so generally speaking, things can work pretty smooth most of the time that you're playing the game. Now, what could they do for the player count in Metroid Prime 4? I personally feel that a 4-on-4 or a 5-on-5 would work best. That means you have no more than 10 players in the match at all times. That can compensate for maybe lack of experience with writing the netcode for their game, any issues that you could have with how Nintendo Switch Online works, how they're pairing people up on their servers. So I do think that it's very possible that if there was, they would probably keep it at a 5-on-5 type of thing. Now, what else could you do with it to spice things up in the multiplayer realm? Well, Metroid is all about those upgrades, all about those bomb expansions, all about those missiles. But Metroid Prime Hunters had different types of characters that was in there as well, with unique abilities and everything. So I think that once you get into a map, or even with your pre-loadouts, having different hunters or having different characters throughout the Metroid universe that can enact different abilities would be a pretty cool type of thing that you can do, like a perk system. So for example, Call of Duty has that as well, certain types of abilities that you can have that get you an edge in one area or another. And also, if you get a number of kills in a row, or you do a number of good things in whatever objective, you'll get some type of bonus, like a kill streak bonus. These are all things that were somewhat in the previous games for stuff, but not exactly like in a modern sense. So I would love for them to kind of put that in there as well. I think that multiple modes would be very good. A bounty hunter mode would probably be the thing that I would want the most. So essentially, you have maybe 10 people on the map, right? Or you have 4 people on the map, and one of them is the bounty hunter. The other ones are the ones being hunted, and the bounty hunter is a little bit more powerful, or has more power than the other 4, and then the bounty hunter has to hunt down the people. I think that would be kind of cool, or even vice versa, right? So something like that, adding a unique spin to what Metroid is, because Samus Aran is a bounty hunter. Believe it or not, I know people say that. I mean, she's not hunting bounties all the time, but she's a bounty hunter, so that'd be kind of cool to have some type of mode that they put into the game that was like that. Another mode that I think that would be pretty cool for a Metroid Prime game, you see games like Overwatch, they gotta have like that little thing where you're going back and forth, but they should have their own spin on it, and it should involve Metroids. That's what I think it should involve. Who can actually protect or keep the Metroid storm from one side or another, protecting them. I think that'd be kind of cool, and it would be funny as well to involve Metroids in some way, shape, or form into some type of game mode. Now, it doesn't have to be like that whole thing where you're going back and forth and it's pulling, but I would just like to see Metroids being involved in a game mode some way, shape, or form. I think that would be pretty dope for a Metroid Prime 4 online multiplayer. Now, another thing that they could do, now this is something that I think some people want and some people don't. You guys could let me know your thoughts in the comment section, but co-op. How would co-op work? What could they do? And this is something, in my opinion, that if Metroid Prime Federation Force came out, like let's say it's coming out at this point with really good graphics, and we already know about Metroid Prime 4, and Metroid Prime Federation Force was a primer, or it was like, okay, you get this first and the big game's coming next, I think people wouldn't have reacted anywhere near as bad, of course, if the graphics were better and if it was coming out at this point after we got Metroid Samus Returns and everything. So the game got a little bit of a bad rap. No, it's not the best Metroid Prime game out there, but the online co-op works really well, and there is some fun to be had with it. Yes, it's not designed the best with everything, but there's some fun to be had. So they can take some experiences that they learned from that, in my opinion at least, and apply that if they were going to do some like online co-op missions, right? To where you can be Samus and another bounty hunter, then you have to go out there and hunt down certain tough bounties, and you guys can team up and have certain attacks and abilities and work together to take down tough targets, you know? So I think something like that for an online co-op mode would be really good. Heck, I'd even be happy with that if it was 4 players, and then you have a variety of different missions and you have to go through and hunt down each one of those bounties with that, and then you get rewards, and then you can upgrade your equipment and kind of go through. That would be something that would be really dope for online multiplayer in Metroid Prime 4. So I'm just kind of shooting around ideas here. A lot of you guys had a lot of ideas that were similar to what I had, or different types of ideas, and I love that conversation when it comes to Nintendo's flagship titles and what they can do, not only to sell more, but to kind of like revitalize the series and get new ideas and keep things kind of moving with the progression of each series as we go through the years here. So what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to Metroid Prime 4, potential online multiplayer modes, co-op? What would you like to see? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.